Well, another day, another San Francisco 49ers injury. You're watching the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I am Chase Sr. Dre Greenlaw, undergoing groin surgery, going to be out for a while. Coming up on today's show, we'll break all of this down and get into what exactly it means. But first, shout out to today's sponsor, Magic Spoon, for making today's show possible. You can get $5 off your checkout by going to magicspoon.com/49ers Report. We've been talking about 49ers injuries all week. I'm probably going to eat a lot of Magic Spoon cereal to help me get over it. You can too by using that link. So this news just breaking on a Thursday that Dre Greenlaw is going to go on IR. He's undergoing groin surgery for an injury that he suffered against the Detroit Lions in Week 1 after he played extremely well in that game. Matt Barrows of The Athletic on the report saying this: linebacker Dre Greenlaw is having a procedure to repair a groin injury according to multiple sources. It is not believed to be season-ending. So that is the good news for this injury, because Dre Greenlaw has been an absolute steal since being a late-round pick out of Arkansas. He's a big player on this 49ers defense, but if he's not done for the season, let's take a glass-half-full approach. According to these reports, Dre Greenlaw, because he's undergoing surgery, he's going to go on IR. He's going to be out at least 4 to 6 weeks. That means that an IR move is coming. It also means that a corresponding roster move is going to come. The only problem is, outside of Dre Greenlaw, you have Marcell Harris, All-Pro Fred Warner, Azeez Al-Shaair, and Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles as the only linebackers on this current roster. The only linebacker on the practice squad is Nate Gerry, who signed with the 49ers in free agency earlier this year, then was let go, brought back onto the practice squad. Maybe he is moved up to the 53-man roster for this matchup on Sunday against the Philadelphia Eagles. You take a look at this linebacker depth chart now. It is extremely thin because Marcell Harris is dealing with an injury on his own. Fred Warner balled out last week against Detroit. He's the best linebacker in football. He's never missed a game in his NFL career. Hopefully I didn't jinx him there, but he's been the steady presence in the middle of this defense. And then Azeez Al-Shaair is also a very, very good linebacker. I thought him and Dre Greenlaw really had the opportunity to prove themselves and get out underneath the shadow of Fred Warner and solidify themselves as very good and noticeable players. I think they've already done that to a certain degree, but this injury is certainly a bummer, especially considering how Greenlaw played against the Lions in Week 1. He was causing havoc for DeMeco Ryans' defense. Of course, he had that pick 6 on Jared Goff, brought it back to the crib for the touchdown on that play where Nick Bosa was able to generate some excellent pressure right through that Lions offensive line. But his final stat line against the Lions: 6 tackles, 4 solo, 1 pass breakup, and that lone interception. This is also unfortunate timing for Dre Greenlaw and this defense, not only because the Niners have been suffering a lot of injuries this week, with Raheem Mostert being lost for the year, as well as Jason Verrett, their top cornerback, going down with a torn ACL, but it's also a bad week to be down at the linebacker spot and to be thin at this position. Why is that? Because Nick Sirianni hails from the Doug Peterson and Frank Reich tree. What do those offenses like to deploy, and what do they like to run? A lot of 12 personnel with 2 tight ends, and the Philadelphia Eagles have Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, 2 very good tight ends on the offensive end of the football. They're going to look to exploit that matchup and that mismatch that I think now leans to Philly's side because the 49ers are so thin at linebacker. I talked about this before. I think Dre Greenlaw, a great 5th-round value out of Arkansas. He has proven himself to be a very, very solid player on this defense. I'm glad that it's not a long-term injury. Let's hope that he's able to bounce back early, but sometimes these groin injuries do tend to linger. Sometimes it gets into the category of a sports hernia. Let's hope that it's nothing like that. As for the damage done against the Lions, a lot of it from a season-long degree and a significant impact degree. Jason Verrett against the Lions, he goes down with a torn ACL because of that non-contact injury. Raheem Mostert tore cartilage off of his knee. He elects to undergo surgery. Now he's out for the year, and now it's Dre Greenlaw out 4 to 6 weeks. We are not unfamiliar with talking about injuries here on the channel. So Niner Gang, this is your therapy session. Get into the comments. Let me know how you're feeling and let me know your level of concern about these Niners injuries. Scale it for me from 1 to 10. And this is why you subscribe to the channel, because when breaking news happens, this is the third or fourth time that breaking news has occurred this week. We've had you covered with a video within the hour. We hit you with the latest news and rumors, live shows every Tuesday, sometimes 2 videos a day, and oh yeah, watch parties on all of the game days. So hit that red subscribe button down below. We're getting closer and closer, baby, to 40,000 subscribers. 49ers Report presented to you today thanks to our friends at Magic Spoon. This is cereal that is guaranteed to rock your taste buds, because if you don't like it, money back guarantee, but also it's healthy, uses clean ingredients, but it's really, really tasty. Per serving and per bowl, under 200 calories, 13 to 14 grams of protein, 4 grams of net carbs, 0 grams of sugar. And what Magic Spoon has done is they've put together an unbelievable lineup of flavors that are straight up delicious. So one more time, if you head to magicspoon.com/49ers report, you get $5 off your purchase. And if you don't like it, which I guarantee you will like it, you do get your money back. Move ahead to the 49ers injury report going into week 2 against the Eagles in Philly. Emmanuel Mosley at practice today in West Virginia because the 49ers staying on the East Coast because of back-to-back road games. Was running today in practice. Eric Armstead was on the field. That's very good news for this Niners defense. He had 5 quarterback pressures last week against Jared Goff in that Lions offense. Marcell Harris, very good news here because of the injury news with Dre Greenlaw, was wearing a contact jersey, so at least he was on the field partaking in some activities. And Javon Kinlaw, who this defense really missed last week in the run game, was partaking in some team drills. So that is the 49ers injury report going into week 2. Also, the 49ers fan base, the faithful, the Niner Empire, in absolute shambles right now because of this Brandon Aiyuk mystery situation in which a lot of people think he is in the doghouse because he played less than 50% of the snaps last week against a bad Lions team and was not targeted once. Let me note, context very important here from what Kyle Shanahan had to say. He said this week. If Brandon Aiyuk wants to be out there every single play, he's got to be a lot better than the guy behind him. The guy behind him, who's taking snaps from him, has been Trent Sherfield, who was a training camp superstar and a preseason superstar, and I thought played really, really well in week 1, caught that first career touchdown pass from Trey Lance. Here's what Shanahan had to say about Sherfield. I know Trent wasn't a first-round draft pick, so that might not be as obvious with the talent level, but he's been a hell of a football player since he's been here. Aiyuk's been a little inconsistent because he's been in and out with his injury. And that's what we felt was the best chance for us in Detroit. Aiyuk still got a chance to get that spot and not rotate as much. Trent just doesn't make that very easy. So I mentioned the context here. Obviously, Kyle Shanahan isn't really happy with Brandon Aiyuk. There was a report earlier this week from Matt Mayoko of NBC Sports Bay Area that said Aiyuk still learning to be a pro. Also, Aiyuk yesterday on Wednesday in practice was last in positional drills at the wide receiver spot. Everybody went in front of him. He was last at the back of the line. I think that's pretty telling. Now, does the injury issue have something to do with Aiyuk's lack of production, with him not being on the field as much, with him not getting as many snaps as we had anticipated because he was looked at as a possible fantasy breakout player not only in week 1 but throughout the season? Yes, but I do think, given the verbiage that Kyle Shanahan has used and the way he said some of these things, that maybe Aiyuk isn't necessarily in the doghouse because that's a negative term, but Shanahan wants to see more from Aiyuk, whether that be him not being banged up as much, him being more devoted to his craft, showing more consistency, and there's no question that Trent Sherfield throughout training camp in the preseason outperformed Aiyuk. But I'm a big fan of Aiyuk's because as a first-round pick out of Arizona State last year, he was really, really good when you look at the numbers. He only played 12 games, reeled in 60 balls, 748 yards, average yards per catch at 12.5, and brought in 5 touchdowns. We saw the ability when he leapfrogged Marcus Epps, that picture on your screen right now, en route to the end zone during that primetime game. So Aiyuk has to get it together. I think he will. I hope he does, because this is a guy with a lot of potential, and producer Jack Lauderay went to Arizona State as well. So if Aiyuk doesn't rise up to the occasion, my boy Jack is going to be in shambles. He might not be able to produce shows anymore, and I don't want that to happen because he is the MVP here at Chat Sports. So before we get out of here on this Thursday, is Aiyuk in the doghouse? What do you think? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Get those votes in, because I'm going back to see what you all come up with, because I see people just in disarray on the mean streets on social media. Also, another watch party on Sunday for Niners-Eagles. It all kicks off 12:45 p.m. Eastern, 9:45 a.m. Pacific. We had more than 60,000 people join us for a watch party week 1, live play-by-play, live scoreboard, live Q&A. So I'll be taking your questions throughout, talking Niners. We break down the game, live stats, live analysis, and we drink beers and take shots. So if you're on the West Coast and you're waking up very early and you want to drink, cheers. Let's do it right here on the channel. Subscribe and join us. We're about 500 people away from reaching 40K.